Casual Magic has been brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can get cool stuff. Use the code CASUAL for 5% off your order. We're also sponsored by Quiver Time, makers of the Quiver and Bolt deck cases and other fine card-holding accessories. Use the code CASUAL on their site for 10% off your purchase. And by Architect, a deck hosting website that doesn't sell anything, but they like me and I like them, so kindly use them for all your deck list needs. Now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to Casual Magic, the show where we talk about the fun side of Magic the Gathering. My name is Shivam, Bhatt, and Casual Magic is brought to you by Cool Stuff Inc., Architect, and Quiver. Today is not actually going to be about magic. Sorry. I mean, it might be a little tangentially, but really, it's more because I wanted to talk to two dear old friends of mine about their cool board game show and about the fact that we play board games all the time, and I love board games, and they talk about board games, and I haven't gotten to talk to them for a while, so I'm going to do that. It's my show. This is how it works. Today joining me is my dear friend and former boss from my earliest job post-college back in the days of working in the video games industry, Dan Shushu, aka Just Shu, who I've known for almost 20 years now, and his wife Christina, who I've known for like 15 years now or something like that. And you two used to live very close to me, and we used to get to hang out and play board games all the time. And now you have your own show called Going Analog, which has been going for a while, where it's a podcast where you sit and talk about board games all the time. And since, frankly, I talk about Magic all day, but board games are really the thing I love to talk about, I thought it would be really cool to get a chance to explore that side of what I do. Hey, guys, how's it going?
Hi. So we find out, your listeners find out, you've been living a lie, Shivam.
You know what? It turns out I've got like 3 podcasts, and the only thing I haven't covered are like my secret hobbies of gardening, baking, and board games. So like once I do that, my Shivam Podcast Network is going to be just unstoppable, and then Heather will divorce me.
Out of all your shows, this is the first time you've talked about board games? There's no way.
You know, you would think that it would come up more, but Magic ends up eating a lot of space. It's technically a board game. It's you play it on a table. You can play it out of a box. They made a couple. And actually, as of recording, they will have come out with the recent Ravnica Clue edition. So it's either going to be a remake of Clue with Magic cards or like some Magic-themed Clue system, because the new set that would have come out it's weird. I'm recording this in January. It's going to go up in like March. So this new set that would have come out is going to be a murder mystery set. So they're theming Clue because Hasbro owns Clue. So it's going to be a cool kind of branding tie-in. So there, board game, Magic.
Yay!
How's it going, you two? It's been so long.
Good. It's been forever. You were just before we were recording, you were telling us how old your boy is. I'm like, oh my God. The last time I saw him, he must have been 4, I think.
Yeah, easy.
Older.
He must have been like 4 or 5 years old. Not even 5, like easily just 4 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time we ran into each other was randomly at Gen Con, where you ended up selling me on. So you guys ended up selling me on those super tiny games made by that weird Japanese company.
Boink. Yes.
Yes. That are like in this box that's literally the size of a deck of playing cards. And I ended up bringing a bunch of those to Gen Con with me to show off to a bunch of my Magic playing friends when we were hanging out. And we played Startups. And Startups is like the most cutthroat. Like you can get real mean. But that's
probably our number 2 favorite Oink game is Startups. Yeah.
What's the number 1?
I think right now for me it's Scout.
Yeah. Scout, check that out.
A newer game.
Yeah, I got from them. I got the circus one that they did, or the one with like the trick taking where you've got the top of the card and the bottom of the card.
That's Scout. That's Scout.
Yeah. I need to play that with people who know how to play that, because it's hard to kind of figure out how to do that. But
I've got the
that game
teach
is
down.
real sweet.
So yeah, we'll do it next time.
Yeah, that game is really sweet. But like the other one I got was they had a solitaire one where you have like houses that you're building in this neighborhood and you have to line them up, but they all have to have different patterns horizontally and vertically. It's like
Are there aliens and dogs and hamburgers in that one?
The thing is, these games from Oink is like hyper minimalist Japanese games that come in a tiny little box, and it is cool as hell. They're incredibly stylish. They're incredibly fun and well designed. And yeah, I was really happy that you guys introduced me to those. They're really sick. And actually, when I went and picked them up, the dude at the booth recognized me from my
Ooh.
podcast.
Whoa.
And so I was like,
Awesome.
that's cool.
Mhm.
Thank you. Yes. So why board games, man? Because like, Shu, I know you for a long time were like big muckety muck in video games. You were like the editor in chief of the biggest magazine there ever was. And like, I know I read you when I was a kid. And then when I started working for you, I was like, holy crap, I'm working for Shu. It's insane. Actually, it's weird because yesterday, I was looking at pictures from E3 2005 for a random other reason. And I was like, look, it's me and Shane and Shu and all of like the EGM and One Up people and just hanging out at like the pool. And I'm like, damn, that was a different life. Like so long ago. But yeah, how'd you get into board games then?
Well, I've always liked board games, even since I was a kid. I remember having random board games at our house. This is like, I'm playing Monopoly and Sorry and that kind of age. And I had little sisters. And I remember in my mom's house, there's random board games. I don't remember how we acquired them, if my parents got them for me. And I could barely read the instructions. And I'm just like, would get parts and bits of it and kind of like fill in the blanks myself and kind of like, okay, I guess this is how you play this game, and just kind of power through it and try to do that with my sisters. And then I want to say in my high school days, I went through another kind of renaissance of playing Steve Jackson games like Car Wars and Illuminati.
Yes.
So I have very fond memories of that.
God, I love Illuminati.
Yeah. And then, so what happened is, so the aforementioned game magazine, EGM, one day Shane, who you just mentioned as well, and I were talking about how, we used to play Illuminati back in the late 80s. And then I'm like, I wonder if that game's still around. Cause I had fond memories. I'm like, I'd love to play. I don't want to play that game today. It's not a good game by today's standards.
It is fun.
But when you're younger and the market wasn't quite this big, it was awesome. Right. So I'm like, I'm going to go look for and see if there's if that game is still around or if they made modern editions. So I went to the Games of Berkeley store. It's a board game store, which I'm sure you're familiar with. But and I went in there and I'm like, oh my God, I did not know the board game world, the hobby has exploded and looked like this. And I'm just looking everywhere. And it kind of reminded me of when I was young, before I got in the games industry, and then I'd walk into like a Toys R Us or an electronics boutique, and you're just looking at walls of games, and you're just like, what is this? And what is this? And you're looking at the back of boxes, and you're just like, this looks cool, and this looks cool, and it's just all new. And since I got into the video game industry and worked in for a magazine, you kind of know everything. You're exposed to everything. Companies send you stuff. You go on press trips and junkets. And you go to shows like E3. So you're exposed to so much that part of the magic, that discovery, isn't quite the same. Like I can't walk into a store now and have that sense of wonderment because I kind of know what's going on. But board games had that appeal to it. I was like, I don't know any of this stuff. I haven't been following it.
And they're all in German. What's going on?
So then I picked up that more modern copy of Illuminati to go play at work at EGM.
Yeah, I remember the games.
And I would go back to the store and I'm like, ask the clerks, I'm like, what is this? What is this? What do you recommend? And then I just started buying more and more games. And then you were around playing board games with me back then, and you helped a little bit of that too. I remember you introduced Puerto Rico to me, which is a and then we would play games. We had like once a night back at our offices, our gaming magazine offices. We would play board games and try different things out. So then that's when it really started kicking off.
Because I remember I invited you to my birthday party, TalCon, which I'd been doing now for 20 years or something, where basically people come and play board, card, and video games all day long. And it was just all my nerd friends coming in with like sacks of board games to just dump out onto the tables. And then like you spun it off at Sony when you were at PlayStation. And I remember going to ShoeCon to play so many board games.
You inspired me to throw. I'm like, throwing parties is great because then you have all your friends.
Any other way to do it?
Yeah, you have all your friends in one place. Everyone's bringing games. You don't know every game in the world. Someone's going to bring something for you to discover, and then you get to show off the games that you like to other people. So that kind of these mini con environments are so much fun.
Yeah, man. What about you, Christina?
I had played, Mousetrap, Monopoly, all that stuff growing up. I like this dumb game called Head of the Class because I'm a fucking nerd. Oh, sorry. I'm a big nerd.
Hey, I
And
told you before.
I know.
Shivam was like, "Don't swear." It's
I
like one
know.
rule for
Literally the
us.
only rule.
Last time Shu broke this rule at another panel that we were on, so it was my turn. I really apologize. It's a really dumb game where you show off like random things you know about school.
Hmm.
So so I liked dumb games like that. And then in college, like one of my friends, when I would go back home, he started getting into those games, and we got into Bonanza and like Power Grid, and I
Power
enjoyed
Grid.
them. Yeah, so I played those. I was like, oh, this is very different, but I didn't really buy any of them for myself until I started dating Shu, and he had maybe like 10 games at the time,
In
10
the
to 15,
collection?
maybe in your collection.
No, I want to say 20 something.
Okay, 20.
Yeah.
You had 20
20
games.
to 30 games.
Yeah.
And then we got a Groupon for a game store that no longer exists in San Francisco. So we would like, oh, let's go check it out. We asked for some recommendations, and then we got really into this deck building game called Thunderstone. And that was probably like the entry point for us just getting like, it just is this vicious cycle with the two of us. Where, like, if I like a game, he's going to want to buy it and play with me. If he likes a game, then I'll try it out. And then we just sort of don't really control each other on buying
for
games.
the audio listeners at home, these two are sitting in a room that, let's say, is like 20 feet long by like 10 feet wide or something, and every wall in here is like shelves floor to ceiling that are just more board games than I have ever seen, and I've seen a lot of board games in my life. There are like 2 game tables in there. There's like, I know somewhere in there's even a pack of like a box or something of Magic decks went for like 10 minutes you played with Sean Baby at that time.
Yeah,
And like
totally.
it's nutters, because like when I knew you guys before, you had a reasonable human amount of board games, like 2 or 3 shelves, not like a library.
How many games do we have now, Shu?
Well, at some point we haven't kept all of them because we would sell
Yeah.
them over the years. But we've definitely cleared 2,000 at one point. Currently in our collection, it's hard to say, but yeah, this is actually our entire 3rd floor, so it's
Yeah, it is.
probably 40 by 30, I want to say. I don't know. It's a lot bigger than what you saw, what we showed you through our webcam, because we have like hundreds and hundreds of dollars of IKEA shelves to hold all this stuff.
Jesus Christ.
But and we have pretty tall ceilings in here too, so the shelves go pretty high. But yeah, like Christina said, like usually in a couple, maybe there's either one of the couple who's like not tolerant. I'm gonna say you need a man cave or a whatever, right? Or
a she shed,
or they're okay with it, but in moderation, right? Because you have other responsibilities. But for us, like, we're both so into it, we neither of us stop each other, right? So we'll go to Gen Con. We actually bring a giant suitcase and then our clothes in a smaller suitcase.
You guys go to Gen Con the way my family used to go to India, with a big empty suitcase that you come back with just piles of crap with.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you mentioned that, though, like, because, like, for instance, my wife she knows how to play Magic. She's very well versed in it. She understands, but she doesn't get into the hobby because she's like, look, if I get into the card game and you're in the card game, we're going to be broke and living in boxes made out of cards, right? Like, that's just how it goes. However, board games are the one hobby that we really do just share. Like, board games and
Heather
gardening.
loves board games.
Oh
too.
my God,
I'm just playing with her.
Board games. She's she's like the most sweet and kind-hearted person, and then we can sit down to the board game. She will cut your throat.
Cut you.
Yeah. And she will like give your head to your mother and with a smile on her face, right? Just like, you know, it's so
Christina
crazy.
and I get pretty competitive too, because we started years ago a Google spreadsheet to compare head-to-head battles, like to see who's better. This is our proof of saying, like, okay, who wins more between the two of us. So the rules are, for a game to be entered, for a win to be entered on the spreadsheet, it has to be neither of our first times playing it.
That would be unfair,
right? So it can't be like we both had to have played it at least once before, and it can only be the two of us. So if we played with you and I win, I can't record this on this head-to-head spreadsheet. And then for the first couple of years, Christina started, like, she hit triple digits. And I was probably about 20 points, 20 wins behind her. And then I was like, I'm not going to catch up to her. I have to win 20 times in a row,
It's true.
head-to-head games, just to tie her. So I concocted a plan to convince her, like, you know what, we should do this on an annual basis, reset the score every year instead of this one ongoing lifetime score. And then she's like, she knew what I was trying to do,
Yes.
but she's like, okay, fine, I agree. So now we have sheets or tabs per year.
Mm.
And I won the first one of 2024.
Yes. It's 1-0 right now, but I think 2023 was 8-0 me.
Yeah.
So
we don't play a lot of 2-player games anymore, just because working in the games industry, like, you have access to millions of nerds, right? So
Yes.
and then you have like your Slack
access.
channels or whatever message boards. It's easy to find people who want to play board games. So we're always hosting.
That is the one thing I miss about not being in the game industry, is just not having ready access to people who are just willing to drop anything and come over and nerd out all night long. That's why I still have to have my parties. It's funny because, like, at one of the shoe cons, I got introduced to what became one of our favorite games here in the house, which is Let's Make a Bus Route. It's a Japanese game where you got like these maps of Kyoto, and you're making like these bus routes of basically playing the old computer game Snake. You can't cross over your line or your bus crashes. You can't, etc. But it's just the most compelling and fun, like, little board game there is. And because it's Kyoto, and we're like, oh, I remember living in Kyoto and everything. But yeah, man, that game is still like sees more play than I think anything else in our house does, just because it's such a blast to play.
That's cool.
What do you like? Then why did you start a podcast? Is it just because you needed people to talk to about games?
Maybe.
Well, for me, as you know, I used to be in video games journalism, and then back in, I don't remember when, I left after I've done it for almost 2 decades, and I needed a new challenge. And at that point, our mutual friend Nick Sutner was working at Sony PlayStation. So he kind of was recruiting me for this role. He's like, I think you would be really good at this, even though I didn't have the right experience. Just my knowledge and background in the games industry would have been a lot of help. So I started looking in this job. It sounded really interesting. So I moved out of games journalism and content creation. But PlayStation was like, they were cool with us still doing board game content creation. I had to, get approval and talk to lawyers and everything. They're really careful about what I go out and say and do. And now I work at another video game company. Same thing. I was like, hey, is it cool that I do this stuff on the side? So it kind of, for me, it just scratches that content creation itch that I used to do in video games, but now I could do it in board games, and it doesn't affect my day job or interfere with my day job.
And I used to play the most games with him. So, yeah. One point, he got sick because he was hosting the podcast originally. And then I took over as host, and everybody just sort of agreed I was better at it. So,
yeah, she's much better at it.
You have a better radio voice, not going to lie. I mean, I've just heard True a lot over my life. But you know what, though? I feel that because, like, I started this show, and like the show I was on before this, because my work was not creative in that way. And having left game journalism and having left like the creative industry, I was like, I still need to get this out. And like this show started right at the beginning of lockdown. So I was like, look, I have an excuse to talk to people for like an hour, and just like, we can just have a conversation again. It's great. So it turned out to be a serendipitous timing. It's like, if we're going to be stuck at home, people got time to talk to me. So
we did the podcast, and then we also do a quiz show where we invite industry guests on to test their knowledge. It's like a game show format on video where we like test designers or other content creators about board game knowledge
and board game trivia specifically.
But we don't do, it's not like this is an IGN or something like that where there's like every day there's tons of content coming out. We're just like, we're going to do this as long as it's fun. Like, it's not, we're not trying to make money off it. We're just like, we want it to do well. We want the shows to do well, but we're like, if it doesn't make money, that's fine, because
it's a hobby, man.
Jobs. We just want it to be fun and not.
We want it to stay a hobby. That's all.
As somebody who has had to turn this from a hobby to a career because working in the Bay Area sucks right now. it's a lot more stressful when you have to do this and start caring about things like your numbers and your sponsors and your whatever, instead of just being like, I'm going to talk to my friends for an hour. Yay. Which is why I have 3 shows. But it's still, though, it's so much fun that I wish there was a
Yeah.
way to actually turn this into a real viable career in the Bay Area, but you can't. Like all the real content creators I know who do this like full time live in like, Wisconsin or Michigan or Kansas or someplace where it's much cheaper than the peninsula.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, but what are you guys playing right now? How do you find new games? Because like you said earlier that part of like the board games was the discovery for you, and like for me it's the same way because I'm still tied into the video games industry enough to not have any surprises anymore. Magic the Gathering holds no surprises for me because I'm deeply invested in this. Board games are still the place where I can go and be like, I've never heard of this before. This is awesome. Like Heather just came home with a game called Parks, which she got for her birthday, and I'm like, that looks really
So
cool. I have
pretty.
no idea what this is. It looks neat. Or like my friend introduced me to Wingspan, and I was like, this is the sweetest game I've ever seen.
Okay, I have to tell you about the hot news scoop. The new sort of it's not really a sequel, a direct sequel, but it's inspired by Wingspan, which is a beautiful game about birds, like beautiful art.
The Steam version is even better.
Wormspan.
Wormspan, right?
It's going to be about dragons.
I
and
know.
So I'm so excited about this.
It looks so sick.
Yeah.
My worry about that though is excuse me. My worry about that though is that half of the appeal of Wingspan to me is because I play it like me and Heather got it on Steam and we play it sitting next to each other on our like laptops or whatever. Because the music and graphics on the video game version of it are so good, and the sound design with all the bird calls and everything is so good. I can't imagine trying to do that in paper now because it's just not going to be. It's silent. It's not.
Well, you have to like make the dragon noises yourself. That's all.
But Wingspan was originally a physical board game, right?
We own the paper version. We just haven't opened it because it's more fun to play digitally.
Although I would say the Oceania expansion? Is that the one with the nectar? Or is that the other one?
European expansion?
Yeah, there were 2 expansions to that. I don't remember.
The one that has nectar, I don't know if they have that on the Steam version. We really like that expansion. It adds like another layer of gaminess to it. So
it's one of those 2.
Wingspan is a phenomenal game, though. Regardless, it's just like such a incredibly well-designed game. And for some reason, a game that like I don't know how I avoided this for decades apparently, but like we discovered Sushi Go and Sushi Roll. And I was like, this is so much fun because like I can play it with my kid and it's easy. And like these days, my bar for gaming is, can I teach it to a 10-year-old? And or is this going to be a game that me and Heather are just going to play by ourselves when he is off Pokemoning or something?
Wormspan is made by the same company, Stonemaier Games. So there would be hope that they might come to Steam as well.
I mean,
with dragon noises and music.
I want to know what the artists that they get are, because there's a lot of people who draw really good dragons. So it's going to be really cool to see. Yeah. What are you playing right now?
That's a good question. So we get, I think, at this point, our podcast, it's like a nice medium-sized podcast, I think. Sure. And so we do work with some publishers, and we do get some games sent to us. So of the new games, oftentimes we'll get like a release, and we're looking at like, oh, this looks interesting and fits with what we would cover, because we're not going to be accepting a free game for something that we just honestly wouldn't play and doesn't fit with like what we're into. So we do get some free games, and we try to disclose that. And as we play it, we definitely want to cover it, right? So that's how we get the new stuff. Other times, there might be games that I follow a bunch of people in the board game space on Twitter or X or whatever it's called these days, and see what they're into on Instagram. And if something is new that I haven't heard of, I'm going to go look it up and see like, oh, this looks exciting, this thing that's coming out, or it's this board game designer that I really like, and I'm very excited to see the next thing that they do. So that's usually how we find sort of newer games, I think.
Yeah, or going to Gen Con. That's a big convention for you to just like rows and rows and rows as far as I can see of like just different exhibitors showing and demoing games. So you might go in and try something for 10 minutes and come away having purchased it because it was really awesome. Or a lot of times when we have guests on our podcast, on our
Oh,
show,
we hear a lot that way.
they'll
That's
talk about
true.
what they're playing. And we're like, oh, that sounds really cool. And then now it's on our radar. But also, we have a ton of friends who are also into board games, and then they might introduce a game to us. It might introduce games to them. I have one friend, Nam. He was constantly coming over, and then
Couldn't get rid of him.
we're always introducing new games to him, and then he would start to buy them. And eventually, I'm like, I'm really curious what you spend. So I started making him track of it on a spreadsheet, and then I made up fake achievements. I'm like, I hit $500, I hit $750, I earned this another achievement because I didn't get anything. There's no commission for me. I just want to know.
The achievement is that you wasted money.
I made him spend money by introducing him something. So he's cracked. Is it 2,000 or 3,000 now?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
You know what though? I can't even laugh at that. I play Magic, for God's sakes. You know how much money I spend on that game?
Yeah, I'm sure $3,000 is enough.
I'm not gonna enumerate that. Let's say.
Well, but let's see. It's a couple of games we're playing lately. So Christina and I just got back from the national championship game in Houston for
which is why I'm surprised you're able to talk to me at all.
Yeah, you messaged us. You're like, can you even do this podcast? And we're like, we didn't lose our voice. There was a lot of screaming, and I got sick after the game before that, the Rose Bowl. And then so I'm really surprised I'm not coughing up a storm now. But we brought a few games with us. They're actually
right here.
Over
and
grab a couple. So Sea Salt and Paper is really cute. Another tiny box game.
It's from Pandasaurus. A couple designers, I think Bruno Cathala and Theo Riviere. So they're these French designers. Really simple game. It's one of those you can definitely teach to a 10-year-old. On your turn, all you're doing is either take 2 cards off the deck and you keep one, you discard the other.
Off the draw
pile. Or you take a card off the top of the discard pile where there's 2 piles. You're trying to collect sets or these pairs that give you these extra actions. But the really cool part about it is if you ever collect 7 points, you have a choice to make. Like, do I just say stop? Everybody scores the points that they've got. Or you can say like last chance. Everybody else gets one more turn, and you're betting you're going to have the highest score even after those people take their extra turn. And if so, you get a bonus point. Everybody scores way less, basically. So it adds this really easy but fun tension to the game. We've been playing that game a lot, and the art is super cool. It's like all of this origami folding in the shape of these aquatic animals. So it's
what's it called?
Really
sea salt and
yeah, I don't know if you can see this art, but the art is fantastic. Like all the cards, they're just so pretty to look at. I'll maybe show you a couple on the camera, but they're just like super minimalist. Like here's a lighthouse, for instance. It's just made out of origami.
Oh, that looks sweet.
Yeah.
And you've got this little crab thing going. Oopsies. There we go. That was just from origami art.
Yeah, I don't know if the camera's focusing right, but it's a guy swimming in the water.
You're going to have to pull it in. Anyways, I get the point, though. That looks sick.
Yeah.
It's like a beautiful game. So if you like Oink games and that kind of minimalist style of art, go check this one out. Like at least look online because I guarantee you'll love the art.
Oh, yeah, dude. I am fully invested in all of these things.
Yeah.
Talking to you guys, like, it's weird because, like, Heather will read your Facebook feeds every now and again, and suddenly games will show up at her house just out of nowhere. Yeah. And I'm like, what is going on?
Here's another game, by the way, we got to recommend for you and your family. It's Nana. So I'm actually almost to the point where I'm sick of playing it because it's so easy to play, but it's a wonderful game to show people. And like everyone, like whether it's a family or kids or grown like hobbyist gamers, they all love this game. Right now you can only get it in Japan, so you have to import it, but there are several ways to get it imported.
There is a reskin of it called Trio, but it's not as cute as this.
Nana's the cute one. It's like little cats. But basically it's like the memory game that you might have played as a kid where you're like you have a bunch of cards at the table, you're flipping over 2 at a time trying to find a match. But you're trying to find, there's some of that, but everyone also has a hand of cards that you put in ascending order. So on your turn you can can either flip over a card, or you can ask any player at the table, show me your highest card or show me your lowest card. And eventually you're trying to find trios, three of a kind, like 3 2s or 3 12s and things like that. And it's really fun because eventually there's too much information and you can't
So it's
keep
like a
track of it all.
combination of memory and goldfish.
And goldfish.
Yes,
oh yeah,
exactly.
totally.
Yeah.
That's how I
That
describe
sounds
it.
like it would be a huge hit in my house.
With kids, they're so good at it because their memory is great. And then also you play with just adults. And if you drink alcohol, you don't have to, but like it gets very funny.
It's a super simple game, but it's adorable. And every time we've shown it to people, they're like, "How do I get a copy?" They're like looking online to try to figure out how to get a copy. It's like another guaranteed hit that you will play with your kid and you'll love it.
Yeah, right now what we've been playing at my house is a game called Calico, which it's like a
puzzling.
have you played this before? It's like you basically go
Yeah.
and it's a game where you're quilting. So you're putting out these quilts that are in patterns of either colors or shapes, and you're trying to get them in sets based on like whatever the victory conditions are that you draw. And then also you can get these little cat bonus pieces and button bonus
cute.
pieces. It's super cute. It's super like fun and very challenging. Like you can get real stuck in that game, but it's a huge hit in my house because everybody likes the little kitty pieces. So we play
Their
that a lot.
follow-up game on that, which I think is smoother than Calico, because I love Calico, but it will like hurt your brain, when
Yes,
you're trying to
you
like
can get
make the
real-
perfect quilt.
Yeah, it gets real gross in there.
I would
What-
say also check out Cascadia. I think that plays smoother, and you can play more people, and it's just a very like peaceful game.
It's more
instead.
approachable.
More approachable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I
About
saw
Pacific
Cascadia.
Northwest. Yeah.
I saw that at like Gen Con or something, but I didn't get a chance to try it out. But because it looked kind of like Catan, and I was like, that seems weird. But
No,
don't know.
nothing like Catan.
just probably the pieces just being hexagons.
Yes,
Made me think
lots of
about that.
hexagons, but hexagons are the bestagons. So it's
I'm a big fan. I love me some hexagons.
Mhm.
Old time wargamer. I don't know, board games. I love board games. The problem is like you play it like 3 or 4 times and then you get tired of it, and now you got this very expensive thing sitting here. And I have to figure out how to divest myself of some of these older games. Like nobody's playing Raw in my house anymore. Like we got there, the worst thing is when you solve a board game and like Power Grid or Raw or something, and they've got like the best play you can do, and then it's just not fun anymore once somebody in your group figures it out. So when you've got like 2,000 board games like this, how do you deal with it? How do you get rid of your board games?
Well, there are definitely games that we'll never get rid of because they get a lot of play.
Sure.
Or they're great to introduce to people, right? Because we do, most of our gaming is done from us hosting. Like on my birthday in December, we had a big game party. We had, I think, around 35 people show up, and we had 6-7 tables running. And then in our home, and then on New Year's Eve, we had another party with us, like around 20 people.
Nice.
And then we just ran games all day. So we always have games that we're like, we'll always show people.
Sure,
this
of course.
game, right? It's easy to play, easy to teach. We'll always know the rules. And then there's some older classics that's like, okay, these are our all-time favorites. They come out maybe once or twice a year, sort of thing. But then when we're like, it's getting so there's a show coming up in March called Dice Tower West in Vegas, and then we'll get a flea market table there. It costs like $20. It's open for 2 hours, and we've done this twice in the past where it's like a lot of foot traffic over this intense 2-hour period of just like tons of people going through, and then we've just priced our games to sell. Like we're not, when we sell games, like if you really want to make money, you might go on eBay and try to find the exact price, what's the market value, and we like, it's too much work. We'd rather sell like here's 200 games we're just going to purge. So Christina,
we do have a lot of games.
So Christina and I will drive to this show, and then we'll carry like 6 giant board game
We cannot
bags.
carpool with friends because the
Yeah,
whole
we don't have
car
room.
escapes. So yeah,
We'll have like 6 board game bags full of board games, and then so what we'll do is, and this is going to come up soon because the show's coming up soon, is I'll go through and I'm like, this game we haven't touched in 2 years, and I'll pull it out partly from the shelf. And I'm like, this game is like, I didn't like this game that much, it's time to get rid of it. Or this game we'll never play again, I'm positive of it. And then Christina inevitably will push about a third of those games back
But I might
in.
pull some other games out too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she's generally more conservative about selling because what she does is she'll find justification. She's like, well, if I ever met someone who really loves knitting and then they're
Uh-huh.
at this kind of age level and this experience level for this many players, I might need this game. So she'll find the exact circumstances to justify keeping that game, and
We
it
call
still
it
won't go
magical
for free.
Christmas land.
Yeah.
So she'll push a lot of them back in. It's like, nope, I'm not selling that. I'm not selling that. And then whatever's left over is actually what will go into.
It's still plenty.
I'm just
still plenty.
Yeah, I'm just imagining though, you guys driving to Vegas and the cop pulls you over. Is like, I'm gonna need to see your trunk, and they pop open the trunk and just like, lots of little wooden pieces just start flying out, meeples all over the place. It's like a crime scene. It's gonna be gross.
Yeah, it's they'll pull in drug sniffing dogs, and then the dog will be like, I smell nothing but nerd.
Oh man!
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your favorite games to play? Like, what is your? I'm having a crappy day and I want to have a good time. Let's just pull out a pet game.
That's a really good question. I mean, I think it's different for the both of us because we do have a lot of overlapping tastes, but they are different. So
yeah, I used to say Alien Frontiers was my favorite board game, but that I don't think that's true anymore, and I don't know what my one favorite board game is. And that's a game where have you played that one before, Shivam?
I've not.
So it's a worker placement game, but your workers are dice. So you roll dice, and these are spaceships, and the values might be like a pair will allow you to do something. A high die.
That's I have played this game.
Okay.
Probably because of Shu.
I think I even played it. I was just I'm like,
yeah.
The second you said that, it's like I remember seeing like spaceships and there's like boxes inside that you can put the dice in.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, I've
that was
definitely played
favorite for a long time.
So that you have different technologies that might let you alter dice, and you're trying to figure out where do I place these dice. So I love.
Yeah, that was hella fun actually.
Yeah,
I haven't thought about that game in years.
I don't know if it's my favorite still, but it was for many years. Caverna, which is the sequel to Agricola, it's a farming game. That's one of my favorites. Netrunner by Richard Garfield is also one of my favorites.
Solid game.
But I haven't played that in a long time. I think it just depends on who I'm with because I like a simple, easy party game like Telestrations or Hive Mind.
Telestrations gets real silly.
Good.
Yeah,
it's still my favorite party game. We'll
play those a lot, but then I might have some friends who like heavy stuff. I'm like, oh great, I have some of my favorite heavy games, And so yeah, we're in the industry or at cons, they call them like omni gamers because there's like we just kind of like everything.
Depends on context. Yeah. I think I think my current favorites for sort of a longer game right now would be Ark Nova. I'm super into Ark Nova. It's this game about building out the best modern zoo currently. So if people have played Terraforming Mars, which has been around a long time, you're playing a bunch of cards that have symbols and you're comboing on there. I think Ark Nova does it better. I really love the theme, and I get to build out a zoo, and it's great. And it's sort of crunchy, and it's on Board Game Arena, which is like a website where you can play a lot of these games asynchronously. So I have 4 or 5 games of Ark Nova going right now. So I'm like very into that. But also when I have people like, or we don't want to think too hard, we have some classic games. Like I always pull out La Boca, which is this, block building game where you're like working with a semi-cooperative partner to build out this pattern as fast as possible. I was just reteaching this other card game called Innovation to Shu, which is one of my favorite card games. Yeah. So I'm waiting for the new, what's it called? I have Innovation Deluxe already, which took forever to deliver. And there's a newer version that I just backed where they're going to have age 11 cards and another expansion. So
Innovation is sort of like Civilization, the card game, as I recall it being.
But really take that and intensely competitive. So yeah.
Yes, I love playing that game. I mean, the theme got me immediately, and it was just hella fun to play. I think I might have even played it with you, honestly, at like one of my parties a million years ago.
I wouldn't be surprised. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like
that's Christina's probably one of your favorite games, if not the favorite. And then I hadn't played it for a while, and we brought it with us on our trip because you could just take the cards out of the box.
Yeah.
So we had one time where we were free, waiting for our friend to finish up some work, and then we were going to hang out. So she's like, "Let me reteach this to you." So she taught it to me. We played for a little bit, didn't finish, and then we're like later that night we started a new game. And then she's like, she did say at one point, she's like, "I'm going to destroy you at this game," because she knows all the cards. She's played it.
I was saying I could, but this game is so swingy that it is. Everything's OP, and that's okay.
And I remember the last time I played it, she destroyed me, and I'm like, I have no chance. She plays this all the time on Board Game Arena. She plays it the physical version all the time.
On you,
and then that's my first win of 2024. Yes. Against her playing Innovation.
That's awesome.
It's fine.
I think
I normally don't gloat like this, but
sure.
Christina,
sure he doesn't. Mm-hmm.
So all a callback.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a spreadsheet that I mentioned where we're very competitive, but also Christina wins more than her fair share of games, and then all our friends know this. Like we'll go into
really
a game.
Good.
Yeah, she's really good. She wins a lot, and she'll do this. We call this ABC. Christina always be campaigning, because she's always trying to convince people she's not this fantastic board game player.
I'm not.
If we'll play a game, she's like, no, don't worry. I'm just same as you.
I'm just gonna respect you as a player and try my best.
Yeah.
That's all.
The only time I know, like when you're teaching me a game, that's the only time I know I have a chance to win, because the next time we play, you're going to ruin my life.
Yeah, she doesn't really take it easy on new players either, but she's just smart, and she just like can math out a lot of stuff really easily. And then so I have a funny story. Is one time, so she tracks everything on an app. Would you call it an app?
Yeah, it's an app.
Called BG Stats.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tied to Board Game Geek, and then it keeps track. What she does is after a game's done, she'll get the three of us played. She'll make Shivam score was this, Shu score was this, Christina score was this, and then, so she has all this data on all her past gaming history for the last few years. And it's really cool. So we were having this exact same conversation with some friends at our place once. We're all like, Christina, we know you win most games or more than your fair share. She's like, I do not. It's like, there's no way. I'm just average like everyone else.
Yeah.
So she looked it up. Her win rate was 48%. And it's just like, see, it's not even 50%. And that was
so many confounding factors.
I'm talking.
So many confounding factors.
This is a classic example of someone taking data and twisting it to make it sound right.
It's not even 50%.
Well, it's not over 50%. But her average player count is not 2 players. It's 4 players.
It's exactly that.
A 48% win rate with 4 players is fantastic, right? She should be
in
around
baseball. If somebody is hitting 300, they're hitting 30% of the balls that get thrown at them, and that's considered insanely good.
Yeah,
48.
There are a lot of factors because sometimes there's cooperative games.
No one else.
I play Commander, which is a 4-player version of Magic. If you win more than 25% of the time, that is nutter butters good, right? If you're winning half of the games where it's 2, 3, 4, 5 players, that is an insane win rate. Are you kidding me?
But I'm reporting like party games where everybody.
Look, man, winning apples to apples doesn't count any less.
Christina always be campaigning.
Yeah. Don't like it. Anyway,
my current favorite games are, I think, Splendor, which is I just love how simple and how clean that game is, and how it can be expanded to bigger or smaller, but you can just sit and zen out with that game. And then I really like Sagrada a lot, because I love throwing dice and then making the pre-patterns and everything like that.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's such a cool game, and it's such a fun way to like draft dice and play like that. So I think those are the two that I kind of come back to more and more. We still play Reef once in a while, but that game's not as fun as it used to be, it feels like, with like the cool stacking plastic pieces. Yeah. But it's fun because I can at least play it with my son, so that works out. But it's funny, Shu, do you remember there was a 2-player game that you taught me how to play where like it's almost like a pseudo chess where you got the 3 cards and
Onitama?
Yeah. Was it
Christina figured that out fast. I was like, what game is he talking about?
Yeah, Onitama. Like after I played it at your house, I ended up buying it, and me and Akash ended up playing that for years because it's just so much fun, and it's so simple for him to be able to pick up. And man, that game still just gets a lot of play in my house.
And it's great. Yeah, that game's awesome.
I think the last game I got from
Well,
Yeah.
just because you mentioned Splendor is I definitely think the 2-player version, Splendor Duel, is better than original
Is it
Splendor.
out or is
And
it?
it is out. It came out last year, and probably my favorite 2-player game of last year, I would say.
Hmm.
Mm.
It's
We do play
only
a
for
lot of
two
Splendor
players.
2-player. Well,
Yeah.
what did they change?
So now the poker chips for the gems are smaller, so they're like
Mm.
mini poker chips, right? And you place them out on a grid. So when you're taking chips, you have to take adjacent chips instead. And so a lot of it is the same. You need to pay some gems in order to get the cards that will then build your engine as it's providing more and more gems. But now there's 3 different win conditions where you have to watch out for the other player instead of like a race to that certain number of prestige points. That's one way to win. But then you could also win by having a set number of points within a single color. So you have to watch out for that. Or somebody could win by getting the most number of crowns, which are a new thing on certain cards. So it adds a lot of tension because it's not just like, oh, I see you're at 12. There's no way I'm going to catch up. We're done, right? Instead, there's like 3 different ways to win. So you're always in the game. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, the way you kind of, I wouldn't call it drafting per se, but the way you select the gems is way more strategic. It's not just you take whatever color that you want as long as it's available. It's like I have to take adjacent gems on this grid, and then so like which 2 do I want, or which ones do I take so my opponent doesn't get the ones that they want, and
And
things
at
like
some
that.
point, the grid gets empty. And so, like, are you the one who's going to refill it? But then you give the other player a little bit of an advantage when you have to refill, or do you force them to refill? And so there's all these little tiny tweaks that I think make it like a
Interesting.
really great game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
It's one
sometimes
of
Splendor
two.
can get a little solitary, right? Like
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of 2 games that I think the 2-player version is a huge improvement over the original. Like Splendor Duel is way better than Splendor. Just like Seven Wonders Duel, I think is way better than Seven Wonders. The 2-player version of these games.
Wow. I'll have to think about that because we've played Splendor a lot. Like we play Splendor a lot. It's like, oh, and the other game that I think is probably actually my favorite game right now. Have you ever played Morels?
I haven't,
No.
and I feel like
Oh
I
my
would really
God.
would.
It is
But
so
I've
good.
seen
It is like the best 2-player game I've ever played. It's just mushroom picking, but you're trying to get sets and there's ways to mess up your opponent. And it's really just an incredibly lovely, cutthroat 2-player game that gets real. I think that's my favorite game to play with Heather. We just absolutely adore playing, and like I've introduced it to a bunch of people and been like, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is so much fun!" And then we discover it's like out of print or it's been reprinted once or something. I hate that, but yeah, she got it from some random store in Portland or something, and it's just been like our pet game. Because like, oh man, you need to find a way to play it because that game rules.
See, this is what you were asking earlier, how we discovered games. It's like conversations like this. Now we're like, okay, if we ever saw it somewhere.
Oh, dude, I wholeheartedly think you two would love it. It's really quick, it's pocket sized, and it's just really fun. It's really,
and I
really
love
fun.
fungi. So
Yeah. Oh God, I'm so the Wingspan lady is doing a game based on mushrooms or something, isn't she?
Undergrove, yes.
I'm
where
super
you
excited for
play
that.
a tree and you are trying to make symbiotic relationships with fungi to communicate
that
and
looks so
spread
cool.
other trees. So good.
Oh, you were also the one who introduced me to Indian Summer, which is like the weird Tetris kind of game. That game is gorgeous. I love that game. All right, so we're getting to the end of this. I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions then. What would you say is the best family game you've played in recently? Or a game for families?
The aforementioned
Nana. Yeah, I think that's a good one.
It's so easy for kids to play, and kids are good at it. There's a lot of games that have a bit of strategy, like the adult might have an advantage, and maybe if you're a parent, you might hold back a little bit because you want to let your kid have a chance. Of course, if you're too young, maybe not. But we played with like one of our friends, Jess, his 7-year-old, and she won, legitimately won, beat everyone, right? So that's Nana. But again, that's just a Japanese game. You got to find a way to import it.
There is Trio. It's pretty much the same game, but it's just not as cute.
Yeah, but we're weebs in this house. I'll go find some Japanese way to import it. Have you guys played Flip City? It's a little tiny deck building game.
No,
Sound familiar.
It's
I've
a
seen
tiny-
it, but I haven't
yeah.
played it before.
It's a very cute, tiny little deck building game. You're building a little city, and you buy buildings and you can flip them over and get more points. It feels a little like Dominion for babies, but Akash found it in the back room, picked it up, and we've been having a great time playing that. Okay, so if you've got a bunch of college kids who want something really meaty and deep to get into, what would you say?
Why'd you say college kids? Like,
'Cause they're the ones
are
with
college
time.
kids like that?
They're the ones who have time.
That's also true. That's also true. I'm going with Arc Nova right now. I'm just in my Arc Nova era, and I'm super into it. And there's a new expansion that just came out, so I'm like super excited to keep playing that. And it's like it's so satisfying. It's just a very satisfying game for me. So.
Whoops, sorry about that. It looks like their camera decided to take a trip on to the great beyond. But it's nice because now I can actually read the game behind you because your other camera was reversing it. But yeah, okay. So what about if you got like a party and you want to play a game with people, but that's not apples to apples? What would you do? Like, what's a good party game these days?
Oh, so many.
So many.
Well, we talked about Telestrations. That's like a must play.
Telestrations is like playing telephone and drawing pictures.
Yeah.
My friends do it on their stream. It is so funny.
It's the best.
It's a
so
guaranteed laugh.
At least 8 players. Don't bother with the rules. Everybody just write down a phrase you want the next person to draw.
Yeah. It's funny as hell, that game.
One of our faves, a newer game, Blob Party. So basically, you get a clump of clay in the game, like Play-Doh, and everyone breaks off a little piece. And then, so let's say you have 8 players, everyone has a little bit of clay. You put a googly eye on it, that's your color, and then
it's totally unnecessary, but it's also necessary.
Yeah, it's completely superficial. But the goal is for the group to play cooperatively to form one blob. So you'll get a prompt. You'll draw from 2 different decks, and it might say something like, what's a good example? Nature and television. And then so everyone writes on a whiteboard an answer that kind of connects those 2 thoughts. So I might write documentary, and Christina might write
David Attenborough.
Yeah, exactly. And then so when ready, everyone in a group flips over their cards, shows everyone, and all the people who matched gets to join and now become a new team.
a new blob.
So they'll actually put their blobs together to form this new monster. I'm putting too much emphasis on this clay because that's not even important to the game.
But you join in a single team.
So now in round 2, all the people who match. So maybe from 8 players, individual players, now you have a team of 3, a team of 2, and then 1-1-1 or whatever, right? And then you do it again, a new prompt, and then you see the team of 3 is now they answer 1 together as a group. The team of 2 will answer once as a group. So you have 7 rounds for everyone to eventually, hopefully, connect into one.
Super
one
simple, really fun. Everybody's into
real
it.
neat.
Yeah. You can play more than what the box says too. We have a friend, Grant Lyon, who does a lot of like TikToks and YouTube shows on board games and stuff. He ran a 100-person blob party at a con and said it was like awesome. Amazing. So
that sounds awesome. Holy crap. Yeah, that would be amazing to do. Okay, so what do you think is a really good heavy game for somebody who wants mega strategy, deep thinking?
Let's see. You mentioned Arc Nova. That's probably the hot one right now. Like a newer, heavy game. Maybe something a little bit more classic is Great Western Trail is one of my favorites. They recently released it.
Heavy, but yeah,
it's heavy. You wouldn't consider that a heavy game?
What do you think a heavy game is? What is a heavy game?
I don't know. Minimum
That's a great question.
Minimum 2 hours to play.
I was thinking like Brass Birmingham. I think that's pretty classic, long, crunchy, lots of ways systems interlock. I think that sort of means heavy to me, I think. Where you have a lot of options and you're trying to maximize sort of like the synergy of your choices, maybe. Combo, things like that.
Sure. Yeah, that is heavier than Great Western Trail for sure.
But I do love Great Western Trail.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me of, there was a game that we literally just got like last week that I want to tell you about. Have you played a game called Starry Night Sky?
I've seen it. I haven't played it yet.
It's really, really cool. Basically, this game is like, it's sort of an exploration game. You've got this map with all these constellations on it, and the gimmick is you're given these goal cards on it, and it's sort of like in Ticket to Ride where you've got your two cities you have to go between. But these goal cards are almost told in the form of a story of like, how do these two constellations relate to each other? And so with your little piece, you have to kind of go through this map and explore and put down little star fragments onto these constellations to light them up so that, and anybody can light up any number of constellations. And by the end of the game, if all of your constellations are full, then you can score your cards, and whoever gets the most points obviously wins. But it's got a really clever means of moving about the board. It's got clever kind of like limiters. You have to draw these pieces. They're yellow, blue, and red out of this bag, and you got 3 pools of stars, and you can only have 4 stars in each pool. So that limits how many combinations you can have. So you have to place these within the constellation, and you can try to place as many as you want within, like the constellation might be like 2 yellows, a red, and a blue, and you might only have a red and a blue. You can put those 2 there and then come back later and try to fill in the other 2. But it's a really light, fun, and fast game that's got a really cute theme, and it's just really chill. And we found it at Cafe Mox in Portland, and
nice.
It's been just fun family game to play.
Ooh, a really cool theme that I like is this like sort of medium game called Obsession. And it's like if you wanted to play Downton Abbey, the board game, or Jane Austen, the board game. It's amazing. I love this. It's like a one-man operation, and he published it on his own on Kickstarter. Like it's his baby. Like everything that he's done to this game is like dedication. He wants players to have the best like experience ever. So he's constantly improving it with better printings and making sure previous owners also get these improvements too of the game. And it's just like one of my favorite games also, and like the flavor on it is so hilarious as you're like inviting these guests to your manor and estate as you're improving it. But watch out, you might like invite an American heiress, but her reputation is gonna take a hit,
So. I should introduce you guys to my friend Alex Kessler. He runs this company called Kesco. They make a lot of toys and stuff like hula hoops, but he's also got a board games division, and he did recently licensed games for Mega Man and for some other products, and they've got a bunch of in-house board games that they've been starting to spin up, and they're really fun to play, and I think you would enjoy some of them at least, and I should send him your way. But yeah, you know what? This has been super fun. It's been great to talk to you guys again after so long. I miss hanging out and playing games so much. But if folks wanted to find your show, where could they go?
Well, everywhere on social media and also our website, it's all Going Analog Show. The name originally came from the idea of like I come from the video game industry, but we're like showing people the world of analog. So it's Going Analog Show. We couldn't get Going Analog, the URLs or anything like that, so we just added a show to the end of it.
I know the feeling. You know how many casual magics there are in the world? Turns out more than you'd think. Sweet. Thanks again for joining me, Shu and Christina. Love talking to you guys. It's been a blast.
Thanks so much for having us on.
Yeah, for sure. I'm surprised it took me this long to think about it, because I was like, man, I should just invite you onto my show. Then I can just talk to you all I want, and it doesn't matter. But yeah, as always, my friends, you can find me at GearBreeGears on Twitter. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are sold, or at Cool Stuff Inc. on Tuesdays, or at YouTube on Tuesdays, thanks to my editor, Dan May. And you can also find me on Shivam and Wheeler Love Magic, or on my other podcast, Chronicles of Dragonlance. And as always, my friends, remember, it's not magic without the gathering, and we'll see you next time.